English Made Easy with Cikgu Hana.
Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good day to all viewers. I'm Cikgu Hana from IPG Campus Bahasa Melayu Kuala Lumpur. I'm going to share with you some tips on narrative essay. Okay, stay with me. I'll be with you in a while.
Hi everyone, I'm back. So today we are going to learn about narrative essay. What is narrative essay? A narrative essay is one in which you write a story from your point of view or from your personal experience, providing specific and sensory details to get readers involved and understand your point. Why do we call it narrative? Because we use a particular way of telling our story and explaining its events chronologically, known as narrative. Narrative is a representation of your story, not a story itself. Let's say you reshuffle the order of events in your story, so you'll have the same story, but with a new narrative. So what are the characteristics of narrative essay? A narrative essay is not fiction. It is still an academic paper, non-fiction writing about an experience that actually happened. If you write a fictional story, it's no longer a narrative essay. A narrative essay is normally informal. It is written from the first person point of view because we are the storyteller here. And we write with a purpose to inform, not to argue or not to teach anything. And when we describe a person or we describe a scene or an event in details and normally in sequence, in chronological order, so we did it from our perspective, meaning that the writer. And it is non-fictional. It tells about the actual experience, our actual experience, in fact, and it includes the elements of a story but follows the structure of an essay. I'll explain the elements of a story later, and now let us focus on the structure of an essay. The structure of a narrative essay includes elements, format, structure, and language. Let's look at the elements. Every narrative should have 5 elements to become a story. So we should have plot, setting, character, conflict, and theme. Okay, next, let us look at plot. It's the events happening in our essay or in our story. So the chronological construction of the plot consists of 5 components. First, exposition, and then rising action, then climax, which is the peak, falling action, and resolution. So we laid out the plot of the story using these 5 components. Next, we look at the setting. It's when and where the events happen. In other words, its location and time. For example, at the backyard till dawn, by the lake all day long. So at the backyard is the location and till dawn is the time. Same thing, by the lake is the location and all day long refers to time. Next is character. So it's the writer or ourselves act as the protagonist who drives the plot of our story. So we could include an antagonist to add a conflict and other supporting characters as well to better explain our narrative. The 4th element is conflict. It is a problem the character resolves, a moment of tension he needs to win through. an inciting incident that creates the tone and sets the story in motion. Conflict thicken the plots and add spices to the story. So the fifth element is theme. Theme is the moral of the story. Let's ask yourself these questions. What have you learned from the incidents you narrate? And what do you want the readers to understand? So you conclude the story by emphasizing the lessons learned. Alright, the second structure of a narrative essay is format. It is a chronological construction of plot which consists of exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. Next in the is the structure. Okay, so we have introduction. Under introduction, we should have hook and exposition, and then the body. We have rising action, climax, and falling action under body, and resolution under conclusion. Alright, let me explain the structure in detail. Under introduction, we should have hook and exposition. So to create a powerful hook, we can use a question, fact, quote, or an intriguing statement that will make readers want to read further. And then the exposition is the introduction of our story with the background information about main characters and setting. Okay, let's look at this example. This is the introduction of an introduction paragraph to an essay entitled Mashed Potatoes Pizza. Okay, let's read. My grandfather always tells me that people who laugh at their own mistakes will get other people to laugh with them. Yesterday, I learned that he is right. So the last line here is the hook because it makes readers want to read more. The readers would be very interested to know how he proved that his grandfather was right. Now we look at the body of a narrative essay. Okay, we have rising action, climax, and falling action in the body. So the rising action is the moment when conflict appears, a trigger that creates tension and makes the readers understand what our story is about. Now here is the continuation of the essay. Stay in line, Mrs. Amir said. I knew right away that my friend would not be able to cut the queue. I looked at Mirza and frowned. Soon the line began to move faster, and I followed along, hoping there would still be pizza. So what's the conflict here? So the writer really wants to have pizza for lunch badly. So he is in conflict with himself, afraid of not getting the pizza. Next is the climax. The main event of our story is the climax, the height of tension, and when the protagonist faces the truth, needs to make a choice which will give impact on how the story ends. Let's look at the example on how the writer writes the climax of his story. When I reached the counter, I looked at the choices. I could only see chicken and mashed potatoes, porridge and oily fried noodle. I could hear the rumbling of my very disappointed stomach. Then, out of the corner of my eyes, I saw one last piece of pepperoni pizza. I got so excited. Pepperoni pizza, I said politely. Mrs. Amir handed me the pizza. I took the paper plate so quickly that the pizza slid off the plate. I tried to save it, but the pizza landed in the pan on hot, buttery mashed potatoes. So the climax of the story is when the writer got the last piece of the pizza, but unfortunately, the pizza fell off the paper plate and it landed on a hot buttery mashed potatoes. The last part of the body is falling action. It is the result of the choice, the moment of conflict resolution. Basically, the writer just tells what happened after the climax. This is the example. I could feel my face turning redder and redder. All I could hear was laughter from the kids in line. As I looked at the upside-down pizza, I heard Mrs. Amir's voice. Irfan, would you like a side of mashed potatoes with your pizza? I looked up and I saw Mirza. He was laughing too. With a nervous smile, I said, Of course. Mrs. Amir smiled and scooped the mashed potato pizza on my plate. I looked around at my friends and we all laughed again. So in the following action is where the conflict is resolved. Alright, so the last part is conclusion, which is resolution. So the conclusion of the story with a moral or point of view that we want to share. So we include in the conclusion of the narrative essay. Here is the last part of the essay. I never really believed my grandfather until I saw my friends laughing with me. The laughing made me feel good instead of feeling embarrassed. The writer concluded the essay by answering the question, the hook in the first paragraph. The last part of the structure is language. So we use descriptive words, sensory words, and mix simple, compound, and complex sentences. Alright, how to start a narrative essay? First of all, we need to brainstorm ideas and then pick the right topic. After that, we define our purpose of writing and then we plan our story and finally we create an outline. So this is before we start writing the narrative essay. To brainstorm ideas, we should write down all the ideas that come up to our head. And then we write down any interesting stories or moments about our life that we want to write about. At this time, we don't have to think about how to organize the ideas. We just write and scribble down all the ideas that we can think of. We put aside and then we look at the paper again and try to figure out the right topic. So always look for a topic that we have experience with. So if we have not experienced what we are about to describe in the essay, so our narrative is most likely to fall flat. So we need to choose a topic that is familiar to us so that way our experience will reflect through our narrative. Next, we try to define the purpose of our writing. Our primary goal is to take the readers on a journey, help them share our experience and take something away from it. The best stories are always the ones that teleport the readers out of their comfort zones. It is also best if our writing can give a positive impact to the readers. Alright, then we plan our story. First, we get the list of our brainstormed ideas and then provide answers to all the WH questions. We organize our ideas in sequence, in the sequence that we want the story to be written. Okay, and then we describe the story to ourselves to see if the story makes sense. Alright, and then we create an outline. We could use a mind map or draw a graphic organizer, something like this, to lay out our outline of the narrative essay. Once we have laid out all our ideas in an outline, then it would be easier for us to write the whole essay later on. After we have completed writing the essay, probably we could ask ourselves these questions. Is my essay easy to read and understand for an average reader? Do I involve readers in my experience? Are my words descriptive enough? Do I show or just inform readers about the events? Have I conveyed the message? Will the reader understand the connection between the event and its meaning? Do I follow the structure of narrative essays? Does my story have a clear introduction and conclusion? Okay, there are so many other questions that you could ask yourself after you have completed the first draft. Okay, just to make sure that people would understand, would be interested in what you are writing.
That's the end of our session today. Thank you for watching channel Cikgu Hana, and I hope you would care to give some comments if you have any questions or you have constructive comments for me. And please click on the like button if you like my video, and don't forget to subscribe. You can also turn on the bell, the notification bell, so that when I come up with new videos in the future, you'll be the first to know. Bye for now.